Hey, welcome back to the Good Morning Artesia radio show. As we get ready for our 9 o'clock hour, still to come this hour, Lori Schatz is going to be here from the Community Farmers Market, which they'll have another rendition tomorrow.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on in town tomorrow.
Oh, there is. You've got Red Dirt Black Gold. You've got a pie festival out at Bolzano's. I mean, there is... You're not lacking. Don't sit home and tell me there's nothing to do. In other words, you can hit the book sale at the library.
That's right.
So
That's going
yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's today. Let me get the updated flyer here. I mean, you can get your season tickets for Bulldog football. There is a tailgate tonight before the football game.
All right.
I've got that info here. It is the choir tailgate. And it's going to be from 4:30 till 7 p.m. East side of Bulldog Bowl, $8 a plate. And you get pulled pork sandwich,
Ooh, that
chips,
ought to be good.
drink, and a dessert.
Yum.
So that's good. You mentioned the book sale today, 9:30 to 5:30, and 10 to 11:30 tomorrow.
That's a short window. So don't fool around if you're interested in books.
Yeah.
You know, that's like drugs to me. You see books and you start, ooh, don't destroy them. How many can I fit in my bookshelf? Which is zero. But
Well, you
I have piles of books.
Well, you mentioned that. You know what's going to happen to the books they don't sell?
Well, I hope they call me to recycle them instead of putting them in a dumpster.
Kark.
Oh.
They're going to take them to Kark.
Well, good. They're recycled then. That's where I would take them if I got them.
Kark will pull them apart, and then they will run them through their shredders.
Yeah.
So if the books are not sold, they get shredded.
You know, I haven't been over there yet because I was hideously busy yesterday, but I was through a house there, and it was in Abilene, and it's called Sales Ranch. An acquaintance has numerous houses that they're fully furnished, decorated. I mean, he should have been an interior decorator for, who knows, his own self or something. Fabulous. But the B&B that he had that I got to go through with another friend of mine, they had taken old law books, Texas law books, and of course ripped out the guts, flattened them out, and like wallpaper, except it's not wallpaper, obviously, because you're using the binding of the book, flattened them out, and did the whole bathroom.
Yeah.
And then they had a big picture of Albert Einstein on it. It was the coolest looking thing. And then, of course, this was a fabulous old house. So when you came up the stairs to the second floor, there was a balcony way up at the top, which had a buffalo skull head, you know, but there were more of these books. So, you know, if you had a set or a couple of sets of encyclopedias, you could do that.
Yeah.
You know, because when he got the books, somebody just called him and said, hey, you know, you want all these books? And he went, yeah, sure. And the rest of the brain says, and what in the world am I going to do with them? But, you know, store them for a long time. And there's always something that you can do. Repurpose, recycle, upcycle.
Yeah.
But this was really sharp. I don't know if they were glued or just because you could see the little tacks. So there may have been some glue involved behind them. But that was the sharpest looking thing ever. I mean, you talk about impressive and expensive looking. And it was just old books that had done. You could probably do a whole kids' room or a little library or a playroom with the kids' books. I know they advertised that they had lots of kids' books, you know, in the book sale. There's all kinds of things that you can do with these, you know. If they're old and they're, you know, nothing, you wouldn't want to do this to a first edition.
Right.
But, you know, you get a stack of 3, you paint them whatever color, write on them, put a decal on the top, you know, wrap a ribbon about it, and you've got something clever to, you know, set on a table to a display. There's all kinds of things that you can do.
Yeah.
You know, the best thing would be to read a lot of them, you know, good information. But you know, if they're doomed to the recycle bin, think about all of this.
These are. So
that's better than going to the landfill.
Yeah. No, they're not going to the landfill. They're going to the Kark farm.
Good.
There's a blood drive today in Artesia.
See?
At Hotel
Another
Artesia.
thing to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
1 to 5. They'll be there at the Hotel Artesia meeting room today. 1 to 5. We mentioned the Red Dirt Black Gold.
Yes.
Which is
and downtown. concerts and all kinds of activities.
Yeah.
And I'm sure food is involved there.
There'll be food trucks. Yes. Yeah, there'll be food trucks and vendors and stuff like that. And then, of course, we mentioned the community farmers market, which will be taking place. Today is the day if you want to get vaccinated down in Carlsbad. They've got their vaccination clinic at the Civic Center. They'll be there from 8 to 11, jabbing people.
Well, you know what? If we want this to go away, people are just going to have to bite the bullet and say, hey, you know?
Well, that's their choice they get to make.
We've heard more people this time with this variant that's going around being sick than we did the first time. It's so contagious. You have to think about that. You know, you may not want... A friend of mine and I were having a discussion with another person yesterday, and it was, you know, she was very adamant about not getting a shot because she didn't feel like she was around anybody. And we discussed later, well, she probably goes to the grocery store or, you know, various other places. You don't know who you might be breathing around. You might not get sick, but who are you contaminating that could die? You know, that's just something you have to think about.
Yeah. Well, it still needs to be a choice.
Well, it is. Yeah, sure.
Well, that's not how it is for, like, if you want to go to the state fair.
Oh, yeah.
You can't go to the state fair unless you're vaccinated.
Well.
You can't exhibit at the state fair unless you're vaccinated.
And I think if they were going to do that, they should have publicized that long before I read it. What, a week, 2 weeks? Because
it was a very short time, but...
Yeah, because if you're, you know, showing livestock... and you've put megabucks into your livestock, and now all of a sudden, you don't have time to go get. Well, they should have, you know, okay, I can still do this with negative tests.
Well, they're not doing that, and as a result, most folks from this part of the country are not going to the state fair.
Yeah.
And the auctioneer's not auctioning at the state fair. A lot of the judges aren't going to the state fair, so they have taken out both barrels and they've gone bam, 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 and shot their feet off.
No kidding.
Instead of just saying, get the vaccine if you want to, you know, wear masks if you want to. We really recommend that this is how you know, protect yourself and everybody else. But that's not what they're doing. We have a governor that can't do that. She physically and mentally is incapable of allowing people to make a decision on their own as to how they want to protect themselves and their families. She is incapable of doing that. She is a liberal weenie. And as a reason, no, seriously.
Yes, I totally agree.
She acts like Newsom. She acts like the whack job in Oregon. And instead of educating and encouraging, she's beating people over the head and just disrupting all kinds of people's lives and jobs and families and everything. She's driving people out of the state of New Mexico. She's making it difficult for people to do business in New Mexico. It's just really, you know, you look at Texas versus New Mexico or Florida versus New Mexico. And Linda, I think the stats will bear out. I don't think the hospitalization rate or the illness rate or the spread rate is any different in Texas or Florida than it is in New Mexico. And in Texas, the governor there is fighting like crazy to keep from mandates from going into effect. He's, you know, you can't do a mask mandate in Texas. You can't do a vaccine mandate in cities in Texas. Florida's going through the same thing. And I wish we had that kind of a governor that would fight for our rights and our freedoms and our liberties instead of what we've got in Santa Fe now.
Well, did she have anything to say about Indian Market last week when there was 500 vendors and a bazillion people there?
Well, I don't know. What would she have said? What should she have said at the Indian Market? What would have been the advice that she should have given?
That's what I'm wondering, you know.
I mean, did she stand there in her
But she can say
mansion up in Santa Fe and jump up and down like crazy and scream and yell and say, you should be masked, you should be vaccinated? Or did she say, you know, I hope people are masked, I hope people are vaccinated? What did she say?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Because, well, I had some friends that went, and there were no, you know, rules, restrictions. So why wouldn't it be the same for the state fair? You know?
That's right. That's right. Well, she doesn't have any control over the Indian Market, apparently.
Yeah.
But she does have control over the state fair. And So it's really frustrating to see. You saw the Supreme Court yesterday rule that the CDC does not have the legal authority to require landlords to not evict people for non-payment of rent.
Well, they shouldn't have. The CDC is just disease control.
Yeah, well, but we've granted these people and these entities this power over our lives, all in the names of health and in the name of health and safety. So you're right. Where does the CDC get off telling landlords you can't evict people?
Yeah.
For non-payment of rent because of COVID? Mm-hmm. And even Justice Breyer, who wrote a dissenting opinion, he was one of the 3 liberal judges that voted against this, said that we have to allow the CDC to have this kind of guidance, because if we kick people out of their homes that they can't afford to stay in, it could cause COVID to spread. And I'm thinking, well, we're letting hundreds of thousands of people just literally walk across the border who may or may not have COVID. We're not testing. We're not isolating. We're not quarantining. Hey, come back later when we have a court date for you. Now go see your cousin in Wisconsin. We're not doing anything like that.
Yeah, do you think they're going to come back?
Well, of course not. They don't. But
No.
But we're doing that.
Exactly.
And that's okay. Mm-hmm. But a landlord who is not getting paid for rent, who has maybe
they have expenses.
They have taxes.
Well, they can still have a mortgage.
They have a mortgage. They have maintenance expense. They have all these
utilities.
other expenses. Yeah, but you can allow people to just live in there and not have to pay rent, because kicking them out might cause COVID spread. I mean, we're so screwed up in this country.
Well,
right now.
and a lot of those that were on unemployment, and I'm not disagreeing with unemployment. I'm disagreeing with the megabucks that they gave extra per week to sit at home and do nothing.
Yeah.
Which was more than people were making. So, hey, we need a new television. We need a new truck. We need a new whatever, instead of paying their rent.
Correct. Or their utility bills.
Yes.
Or,
Well, guess what? I still had to pay mine.
Yeah.
All of it.
I haven't missed one yet.
No. And nor were they late.
That's right. That's right.
You're supposed to save enough to be able to hold you over for several months.
Yeah.
Which is a great idea. I know some people live paycheck to paycheck. But if you can, don't buy the potato chips, don't buy the Cokes, don't buy the beer, don't buy the cigarettes, whatever. Save that money. You have a choice.
Yeah.
And it may not be something that you really, really like, but it might be the smartest thing that you can do. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, it's rough. Now,
your kids don't need all the junk food. You can cook. Well,
true.
They can eat the healthy stuff, and you can save all that money on all that junk garbage food that you buy.
Yeah.
And they will be just fine and probably a lot healthier for it.
I went and bought one of my favorite fall drinks, which came out earlier this week, which came out earlier than it usually does.
Okay.
And I got the big one.
Are you going to tell me what it is?
No, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Not on air. Not on air. No, It's not a secret. I'm just not going to say it on air.
You just don't want the business to have a rush on this brand and run out.
No, I don't want to give them free advertising because they don't do any advertising with us. Whereas McDonald's does business with us, so I'm going to promote McDonald's. But anyway,
you got a favorite.
I knew they were out, and they were out earlier than ever, and so I went and got one the other day, and I got the large one, and it was $6 and some odd cents for a large drink.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that if you don't have the money,
don't buy.
Don't buy. But people buy them, and then they don't understand why they don't have any money to pay the rent. And then the rent comes due, and the government comes in and says, well, they can't kick you out because you haven't been able to pay your rent. But, I mean, what are we expecting to do? The government to come in and open up their and go through and personally handle their finances? I mean, but you're right. It's a big problem that we have right now.
Well, talk about the advertising. There was a restaurant in Deming, and they had a phenomenal coconut cream pie. Mm-hmm. Well, I blabbed to a lot of people about this. And then I went in there one day and it says, and I was ordering it. He says, we can't keep this. And I said, yeah, it's kind of my fault. Nobody used to order this that much, and now he can't keep it in. I said, well, I kind of told a few people, you know.
Yep.
So, yeah, it can, word of mouth can, because it was, I don't know where they got it. Obviously, they didn't make it, but wherever they ordered all their pies and stuff from, that was a killer.
Yeah.
It was fabulous.
It was pretty good, huh?
Oh, beyond.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, well, it's just, people need to be allowed to make choices. People need to be allowed to succeed and reward from their success. People need to be allowed to fail and learn how to pick themselves back up and straighten things out.
Do you think that's still possible anymore?
I think we have a real problem in our country now that attitude or that mentality, which I think many people would call the American culture, is being labeled as racist or white supremacist or white privilege, and is being taught against. And I think it's an issue. Jamie, who came back on our staff, she's back in sales with us now, and she just recently came back from California, vacation trip to California, and she said there was a car show going on in one of the towns that she was visiting, and all the commentary from the people that she was reading online was, how dare these people have these bad emissions, environmental killing, carbon polluting vehicles, and showing them off, and don't they know how that they're ruining the ozone and they're ruining the atmosphere, and they shouldn't be allowed to have these cars and do this kind of show. And it was just shocking to her to see that was a huge response that some people were having to just having a classic car show. I mean, why do people think that? Not that there hasn't been people that thought that in the past, but why does it seem that it's such a large percentage of the population that thinks that nowadays? That's crazy.
It's just been pounded into us. It's just like I've noticed lately, there's an awful lot of windmill blades going through town on the trucks.
Yeah.
So somewhere north, they're putting up a farm.
Encino.
Okay. Years ago, I read that those will never generate enough electricity to pay for what it costs to manufacture one of them. Well, that doesn't seem real, logical. And then there's nothing you can do with them.
Right.
When they have a shelf life. In other words, they're only going to last for so long, and then they die.
That's right.
And then you have this huge, giant thing to deal with. I mean, when it takes a truck as long to pull one blade through, and was there 3, I think, on a windmill, plus all of the base, which goes on forever, you have to bury that in a landfill.
That's right. That's exactly what they do with them.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And you look at these windmill farms, I don't have as much problem with solar panels as I do the stupid windmills. Solar panels not going to kill birds and bees that I know of flying through and getting whacked.
No, they fly through and get zapped. That's what happens to them. It's like a giant bug zapper.
Well, of course, they're lower to the ground, too. It's not like they're up in the air in the flight patterns. But still, if you have as much coal and electricity and whatever water to generate a windmill, and it's never going to recoup all that expense, why in the world doesn't somebody realize and stop making the silly things?
But you're missing the point, Linda. We have to save the environment.
Yeah, sure. Well, in the meantime, unless you can figure out how to make these things without using any, natural resources.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it's the same thing with the electric cars.
And you can't do anything with those batteries.
They do recycle the batteries to make new batteries to go into the cars again. So there is some recycling that goes on with it. It's not a complete waste. But the only real difference between that and an ICE car is the emissions. Okay, you don't have an engine in it and the components that go into the engine, but you have all the rare earth minerals that are used to make the batteries. And guess where that stuff is mined?
Yeah.
And then guess where most of that manufacturing and refining takes place? China.
Of course.
So instead of relying on oil and gas, which we have plenty of within the borders of the United States of America.
Yes, we're very self-sufficient if we want to be.
If we want to be. Instead, we're relying on the communist Chinese who hate us and want to overtake us. Look at what they did with the virus.
Yeah.
You know, but we're going to have to go to electric cars and rely on these people that hate us for the materials that we need to make the electric cars. Again,
I don't think those
we're
electric
screwed
cars,
up.
you know, we are a very impatient people.
Mm-hmm.
When we're going to go somewhere, we want to get there.
Yeah.
In a reasonable amount of time.
That's right.
We don't want to have to stop somewhere and wait how long and hope that there's a charger there.
That works.
That works, and we're not in line, you know, take a number and get line while everybody else is getting charged up.
Yep.
To be able to go another 300 miles,
Yep.
that's not going to work very well.
That's
People
right.
are going to get real impatient with that because I don't want to have to, oh my goodness, let's see, I'm going to go somewhere. I guess I better figure out my path because this town doesn't have any electric chargers.
No, they do.
Oh, they do? Everybody
McDonald's.
does? Ah,
They've got 4 of them over at McDonald's.
okay.
That's relatively new.
Okay, because I was going to say, wait a minute, when did this happen?
Yeah,
You know,
within the
but
last few
still,
weeks, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
McDonald's is the first
You
that
have
I'm aware
to figure
of.
out
Yeah.
where you can stop.
Speaking of McDonald's, they're our foodie sponsor for Fridays.
Yes.
So
well,
thank
that's
you,
brilliant.
McDonald's.
If all McDonald's puts in chargers, there's food in a bathroom. What more do you need? You know, but still, you know what I'm saying. You've
And I will
got
tell
to
you,
figure out
the
your
owner
route.
of the McDonald's
Uh-huh.
owns an electric car.
Well, goody.
So not only can he charge his car when he goes visit his restaurants, but then it's there for people like you and anybody else that has an electric car.
Yeah, well,
So what was the motivation to put it in?
gee, I wonder.
Not that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a
Well,
bad
there are two chargers
thing.
in Cloudcroft.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, there is. At the electric utility.
yes. Do I know of any others? No, I don't know, but I haven't looked because I don't need to know. You know, I go and put that good old gasoline in my
That's right.
Go Juice in my vehicle.
I'm totally okay with it. I mean, it is but we're being told we have to do it because of the environment, but then we're destroying the environment
to be able to generate.
to be able to make the batteries that go into the cars so that we can save the environment. We can kill all the birds.
Yeah.
We can make these ginormous, whatever material they're made out of, wind
I have no
vanes
idea,
that have
yeah.
to be buried in the ground because they're not recyclable and they don't
You can't turn them into anything else.
turn them into
Yeah.
anything else. But we have to do that because we have to save the environment. So we have to destroy the environment to save the environment. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I don't think there's any. Well, you know, what they say is there's no vaccine for stupidity.
Yeah.
It's too bad that there isn't because, you know,
But we keep
we know a lot of
electing
people
them.
that could get in line.
But we keep electing them.
Oh, well,
to
that's
run our
because they
lives.
tell you what you want to hear, and then they get up there and they drink the Kool-Aid, and they turn into whatever it is, just like all the others that we voted out.
That's true. That's true.
You
Hey,
know?
we're at the end of the segment here. Anything else we need to cover or talk about?
Just think about Toss No Mas, you know, 1st of August to the end of October. Any cleanups, greatly appreciated. I will provide trash bags, gloves. If you'd like T-shirts, I will give you helpful hints of areas that need to be cleaned. And I realize the weeds are a little tall right now, and it's a little difficult. But, you know, we still have parks, roadways that you can see that need help. There's lots of places that are desperate for attention
Yes.
because people still throw out their garbage. They haven't learned, and they never will. It's just one of those things that it's
So do a
never
cleanup.
ending.
Let's do a cleanup and help things out. Linda,
Yes.
thank you so much.
All righty.
Appreciate it. We'll see you around town this weekend. 'cause
Oh, you
there's
bet.
All this stuff going on.
Plus, can't get bored at all.
That's right. That's right.